Good morning, I'm Rose Lee, and today we'll offer tips on how to get more sleep to increase your well-being and how to have a plan for your planet and renewing old neighborhoods one house at a time, and a new treatment option for some patients with myeloma when we return. Almost 32,000 people in the U.S. will be diagnosed with multiple myeloma this year, resulting in nearly 13,000 deaths. Multiple myeloma is a type of cancer that originates in the bone marrow. Many patients living with this disease often experience multiple relapses when the cancer returns after a period of remission. Recently, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration approved a new immunotherapy combination to treat certain adults with multiple myeloma. Here to discuss the importance of a new treatment option is Dr. Jens Hellengass, Chief of Myeloma at Roswell Park Comprehensive Cancer Center. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me.
So, Doctor, explain what is multiple myeloma and tell us how this blood cancer begins.
Yeah, multiple myeloma is a disease of so-called plasma cells. They are part of the immune system which is built in the bone marrow. And it is causing several very distinct symptoms. Most of all, it's bone pain because those myeloma cells, they overactivate cells in the bones that cause punched out lesions in the bones called osteolytic lesions. There are holes in the bones, so they can cause fractures and then pain. Another symptom can be anemia, low blood counts, red blood counts, white blood counts, making patients more susceptible to infections and also can make them fatigued and tired. And the third very important symptom is the kidney dysfunction. So if there is anything wrong with urination, that can also be a sign of multiple myeloma. But multiple myeloma is very rare, so not every of the mentioned symptoms should also already lead to the suspicion of multiple myeloma.
So how does this disease start in the blood?
We know that there are so-called precursor stages called monoclonal gammopathy of undetermined significance. It's a long word, but it says basically that those plasma cells already started to do something that they should not do. They produce a protein that you can measure in the blood and in the urine, but they don't cause any symptoms yet. But we know that those patients, which is actually are individuals because it's not a disease, it's just a lab finding, they have a risk of about 1% per year to develop the cancer, the multiple myeloma. So we know there are precursors. We don't know where the precursors come from. There have been several connections to toxic agents, like farmers have it more common. Firefighters after 9/11 had it more, have more a higher risk of multiple myeloma. So there are some hints, but we actually don't know where it's coming from.
So, doctor, for those patients who experience a relapse or those not even responding to a treatment, why is that? And what makes this cancer so forceful?
That is really unfortunate. We still consider multiple myeloma as an incurable disease, meaning at one point it will come back. It's actually responding in the first lines of treatment, like at the first diagnosis, really the vast majority of patients really respond well to the treatment. But at one point the disease comes back. That's what we call a relapse or a refractoriness, when the disease is not responding to the treatment anymore, as you said. And there are several theories and hypotheses why this is the case. We think that the cancer cells develop further. We kind of kill the ones that are susceptible to the treatment, but the ones that are not to begin with, they survive and they form the kind of the disease when it comes back, the relapse.
Does the cancer stay in one place in the body, or does it move around and spread?
Now we consider multiple myeloma as a systemic disease. It's in the whole bone marrow because it's part of the immune system, or the cells are immune system cells. They can go basically everywhere, but the bone marrow is the major area where they live because this is where they get their nutrition, where they get their support.
So, doctor, tell us about the latest FDA approval that treats multiple myeloma.
Still, the treatment is very interesting, very intriguing for us because it's a combination of Amplicity, which is an antibody, and Pomalyst, which is a called immunomodulatory drug, and dexamethasone, which is a steroid. And this is approved for patients who relapsed after a treatment, after our standard, basically our standard initial treatment. And they can get this triplet, and it was shown that this triplet, meaning 3 drugs, is better than Pomalyst and dexamethasone, what we used before. Is better, this triplet is better than the doublet. It attacks it by itself, like it's toxic to the cells, that's one. And then there are other immune cells that are the police of the body, and they are engaged, they're kind of drawn to the cancer cells to attack those cancer cells as well. So there are several ways to really kill those cells. And as I mentioned, it's the disease relapses because it develops resistance, and if we combine different approaches and different ways to attack the cancer cells, that's very good because we see, okay, we can kill different kind of groups of cancer cells.
Doctor, are there some clinical benefits as well as safety risks associated with this new therapy?
The safety risk, as every treatment, unfortunately, there are side effects. For example, because I said that it's an immune treatment, so it can cause infusion-related reactions, that the patient has kind of something like an allergic reaction. It's not very common, but it happens. And it can also lower the function of the immune system because it's not that specific. It can also lower other immune counts, like blood counts. Those are the major side effects.
So, doctor, what you're saying is that you're finding this new therapy to be more successful.
Yes, that's a good summary, yeah.
What educational and emotional support is available to a patient who is newly diagnosed with multiple myeloma?
The National Cancer Institute and the American Cancer Society have cancer.gov and cancer.org. They are very good. For Amplicity, specifically, there's amplicity.com. And so these are good resources to learn more about the disease, to understand more. Of course, you should talk to your doctor because that's our job, to explain to you the disease, the treatment. And the emotional support, usually clinics and doctors have also the option to offer you psycho-oncology professionals, and the doctors themselves, the nurses, the APPs, they are all there for our patients. And what I personally also like very much is patient support groups where you can exchange your experience with other patients because no one else will understand you as well as another patient.
And doctor, while the patients are being educated, it's also important for the caregivers to be educated as well, right?
Absolutely. That's also my experience because they have to be there for the patients and they have to suffer through a lot as well. And I think it's very important not to forget. And I have to admit that oftentimes we as doctors, we focus on the patients, which is good, but we oftentimes forget the other caregivers, and they are so important and so essential for the patients. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning, doctor, and sharing new treatment options for certain patients with multiple myeloma.
Thank you very much. It was very nice talking to you.
Studies conducted by the U.S. Department of the Interior, U.S. Geological Survey, cite water consumption estimates can vary, but each person uses about 80 to 100 gallons of water per day. And probably less surprising is our largest use of household water is when we flush the toilet, followed by the water consumption use of showers and baths. Now that explains why new construction, water conservation building codes require toilets and showers to use less water than before. We all want a clean and healthy planet, and the small choices we make each day can help us achieve our goals, such as decreasing energy consumption and limiting our food supply and our clothing and stuff. Kate Brandt is Google's sustainability officer, who joins us to share tips on creating your plan for your planet.
At Google, we strive to build sustainability into everything that we do. And that's both how we operate as a business, but also utilizing Google technology to enable everyone, businesses, policymakers, and individuals, to build a more sustainable world. we have been talking about Your Plan, Your Planet, which is a tool that we developed with the California Academy of Sciences and the Ellen MacArthur Foundation to give people really easy tips and tricks that you can use at home to reduce your biggest impacts on the planet. So that's going to be energy, water, food waste, and keeping our stuff longer. So some of my favorite tips are when we think about water. Surprisingly, the average American household uses about 3 Olympic-sized swimming pools worth of water every year. And one of the best ways you can reduce that footprint is by putting your dishes in the dishwasher rather than hand washing them. So you can save time and do it in a way that's going to drive positive impact on your water use. Then there's energy. I always like to say the most sustainable form of energy is the energy we don't use. It's energy efficiency. And one of the big energy sucks in our homes is our hot water heater. So what I found is when my hot water heater was installed, it was set at 140 degrees. That's really hot. So I turned it down to 120. I still get a really nice hot shower, and I'm saving a lot of energy. Then when we think about food, that bruised tomato or the eggs that are almost expired, we might throw them in the trash. But then not only is it going to landfill, but you're also throwing away all the resources that went into growing that food. 2/3 of global water use goes to food production, and over 1/4 of global greenhouse gas emissions are associated with growing food. So Your Plan, Your Planet has a great exercise you can go through to look at the stuff we buy every day at the grocery store. Tomatoes, eggs, bread. Where's the best place to put it? Is it in that bottom drawer of your fridge, in the middle, on the counter? So we have really great tips for keeping your food fresh and tasty and reducing your food waste. And then lastly, there's stuff. A stat I learned that really shocked me is that every second, a garbage truck full of clothing goes to landfill. So in Your Plan, Your Planet, you can find great tips for how do you utilize your clothes longer. You might rent a dress for a formal event, or you might repair something. You might sell it on a secondary market like eBay. This can have a great impact on reducing that waste that's going to landfill from our stuff. So if you want to learn more about easy tips and tricks for being more sustainable at home for the family, check out g.co/yourplanyourplanet, and we can make every day Earth Day.
At Florida Atlantic University, they had their 6th annual Flamingo Film Festival on its Davie campus. And it offered film and video students a creative opportunity to enjoy international short films and videos produced by student filmmakers. The film festival honors the work and creativity of students presenting their footage that they submitted. It's the goal of the Flamingo Film Festival to continue to encourage student creativity, recognizing achievements in film and video, and presenting the best awards to films selected as best in their category. One of those students still working on a submission for next year had something he wanted to share with us. And I thought it would be good because it actually reflects South Florida's residential growth with a focus on gentrification. Now, gentrification is when an older neighborhood with older homes start becoming demolished and new homes sprout up on that land. Neighborhood redevelopment begins with construction of newer energy and water-saving efficient homes. The student film helps track new construction development and growth of newer, larger homes in one of South Florida's waterfront communities. From excavation to the foundation of a new slab, jobs and materials help grow our construction industry by employing a variety of construction trades. Inside the block walls are concrete and steel beams covered by stucco at the end.
We're here on a Thursday morning at the Appleby home. Behind me there's a crew working on finishing the stuccoing of the house.
Contractors inside the home are framing the walls and ceilings. and installing the air conditioning system to meet South Florida building codes, not to mention energy calculations that ensure permit holders have efficient storm windows and doors to protect new homes from storm winds and hurricanes here in South Florida. It also benefits the homeowner by keeping the energy costs for cooling and heating down. Construction finishes include sanding the walls, and installing tile in the bathrooms to keep that moisture down.
So I get the tile, and I go like that.
And then you lay it and you press it, right?
Yes, I put the pressure until it comes straight with it. I check the end. Check the end. Then I will check like this is clever.
And yes, soon the family of this new home will enjoy the new appeal of this neighborhood to complete the gentrification process. And that's why South Florida real estate continues to have a very sunny future. Recently, Pat, the student filmmaker that we just viewed his film, won the Jeff Klein Accessibility Award at the Broward Achievement Award Luncheon at Florida Atlantic University. The Assistant Director of Student Accessibility Services, Ashley Ciccoloni, presented Pat Archer with this award for his volunteer efforts as a disability advocate in Florida. Pat has spent 2 terms serving the state of Florida on the Florida Developmental Disability Council. He is also an amazing human life as an advocate and student that perseveres. Mentoring opens doors for students and job seekers with disabilities. Open the door to an all-inclusive workplace. Watch the upcoming episodes of Disability Mentoring and get involved in your community. Be a mentor. According to the Center for Disease Control, adults need 7 or more hours of sleep per night to attain the best health and well-being. Now, short sleep deprivation is 7 hours or less per 24-hour period. But did you know sleep deprivation's effects our workplace performance? And it costs our economy over $63 billion annually. And it's also one of the triggers of postpartum depression. Parental exhaustion and sleep deprivation are silent causes of a health crisis that costs our health in real dollars. Joining us this morning is Dr. Harvey Karp, founder and CEO of Happiest Baby and one of America's leading pediatrician and child development and sleep experts. Good morning, Dr. Karp.
Good morning. Great to talk with you.
My pleasure. Dr. Karp, you have authored many books, including The Happiest Baby Guide to Great Sleep, and you had it printed in 20 languages. You certainly are hitting many nations. So give us some of your insights into child development that has made you one of the world's leading baby and sleep experts.
Well, the biggest recognition is what babies actually need to sleep better. Some parents are told there's nothing you can do to improve a baby's sleep, but it turns out actually there are very specific things you can do to immediately improve any baby's sleep. And it's kind of what you would intuitively think. When you hold and rock and shush a baby, you're actually imitating the experience they have in the womb. In the womb, the sound is louder than a vacuum cleaner, and every time you breathe, the diaphragm is rocking the baby back and forth. And so when parents imitate those womb sensations for the first 4 or 5 months, they're able to calm crying babies, but they're also able to add an extra hour of sleep to their baby's nighttime sleep.
Oh, wow. That is awesome. Sleep deprivation is obviously a giant problem for new parents. What are your tips for new parents specifically about how to get more and better sleep?
Well, like you said, this is really epidemic. It's really throughout the culture. 30% of all employees are getting 6 hours of sleep or less. They're having sleep deprivation. And that goes up to over 50% for new parents. And so the hard thing is that, of course, most people can't afford a nanny or a night nurse. But up until 100 years ago, everyone had 5 nannies. You had your grandmother, your aunt, your older sister. And so one of the biggest things for parents to do is get some help. Even if it's help making some casseroles or cleaning the house a little bit from your friends. But there are things you can do to help the baby sleep at night, and it's really those things that imitate the womb. So it's snug swaddling with the arms down. We actually have a brand new swaddle blanket. This is called Sleepy, which is called the 5-second swaddle. It was just ranked the #1 swaddle blanket in America by the New York Times because it's so easy for parents to use, and that helps to keep the arms down so the babies aren't whacking themselves in the face. The second thing is using the right type of white noise. And the third thing is using safe motion to rock the babies. It's kind of like what parents are taught about going for a car ride. You've probably heard that. You know, if the baby is fussy and not sleeping well, you can drive your car for an hour or two at night. Of course, that's a dangerous thing to do, but what we want to do is be able to give parents those tools to be able to do that in the home. Actually, that's why we created Snoo, which is really, looks like a baby bed, but this is really your older sister because it can hold and rock and shush the baby all night long. And actually, when the baby fusses, the bed will rock a little bit faster and louder, imitating what an experienced caregiver would do.
Talk about white noise. What white noise will help a baby sleep?
Well, the best sounds are good for parents as well because parents are in the same room listening to those sounds. Most people find the sound of rain on the roof is a pretty comforting, settling sound. Actually, when we turn on the bed, just push the button to do that, you're going to see the bed begins motion back and forth, imitating that gentle rocking babies have inside. And I'm not sure if you can hear this, but coming from underneath the mattress is rain on the roof white noise, so that the baby is getting these sensations like they had in the womb. And what we find is that within the first week, we're able to add an extra hour to a baby's sleep. And usually by 2 or 3 months, babies are sleeping 9 hours or longer through the night.
Tell us, why is there a rise in myths surrounding postpartum depression? I have a family member who suffered from postpartum depression, and it's not funny, it's serious.
No, it's not funny at all, and there are a lot of misunderstandings about that. People, of course, know that it happens after having a baby, but even if you adopt a baby, that you can have a higher risk of postpartum depression. Even men get postpartum depression. So the biggest things that we can do to reduce postpartum depression are things that improve the baby's sleep, reduce the baby's crying, and help the mother feel more supported. In fact, we're doing studies with Snoo at multiple universities around the country to be able to not just help women with severe depression by giving them extra sleep and confidence, knowing that the baby is going to be sleeping well. And actually, the bed is very special also because it has a special sleep sack that attaches to the bed. So once you put the baby down, the baby cannot roll to an unsafe position. So that gives you peace of mind as well. And now we're even doing studies to show that if you use Snoo, besides improving sleep, we can actually help prevent postpartum depression. That's what we're studying currently.
You've helped so many parents by teaching the 5 S's. For those who don't know, what are they and how can they help the parents out?
Well, the key concept is that babies, I mean, of course, a mother is ready to give birth after 9 months, but the baby isn't really ready. A baby horse is ready. They can run the first day of life. A baby cow can run the first day of life. Our babies are very immature for the first 4 or 5 months. And so they need lots of holding and rocking. And your job as a new parent is to imitate the womb experience. And the 5 S's are 5 ways of doing that. It's swaddling, the side or stomach position, never for sleep, only the back for sleep. The third S is shushing or white noise. The fourth S is swinging or rhythmic motion, and the fifth is sucking. And when you add all of those together, that's when the magic happens. That's why, of course, parents will hold and rock their babies all day long, but all night long, they need help. And now babies will be in this bed for 12 or 14 hours a day so that the parents can get some sleep. Because if you get sleep, you can do the job you want to do during the day. You can be available for your child in the way you want to be available.
I have interviewed many sleep experts, and I have to come clean because I am lucky if I get 5 to 6 hours a night of sleep, because I really can't shut my mind off.
Well, you know, everybody needs a different amount of sleep. Some people get by with 6 hours, other people really need 8 hours. So that's going to be variable from one child to the next. But for new parents, one of the great things, and this is really an advance that just began a couple of months ago, we now rent this bed for about $3 a day. It's literally the cost of a cup of coffee. You can have more sleep, safer sleep, and a 24-hour-a-day helper whenever you need to take a shower or fix a meal for your family or get some extra sleep yourself. New parents now have a tool, or an assistant really, that can be there in the home. You can rent it for a month, you can rent it for 6 months, as long as you need it, and then we pay the shipping back and forth anywhere in the country, anywhere in the state of Florida.
Speaking of help, share more resources like white noise and why some babies can go anywhere without waking up.
Well, it imitates that experience in the womb, and it turns on a reflex. There's something called a calming reflex. That's why if you take a baby to a crowded party or a loud sporting event, they'll sleep there, you know, on your lap, and you would never be able to fall asleep. Adults fall asleep with sound and motion as well, but for babies, when you do the right sound and the right motion, it can almost be like flipping a switch, and you can see very quickly adding an extra hour or even 2 hours to a baby's sleep.
Everyone, parents or not, struggles getting a good night's sleep. So what tips would you offer to have for people in general to get the best night sleep possible?
It's a great question. Let me give you 2 tips. One is, it turns out that the light from televisions and computer screens has a lot of blue color in it, and that turns off your brain's melatonin. So using blue actually they're orange glasses that filter out the blue light is something that people can do, or just shutting down your computer an hour before bedtime is a good thing. And then the last thing is white noise. You can get that pretty much anywhere on the internet. The sound of rain on the roof or that type of a sound all night long can help you not pay attention to all of those thoughts that are going inside your head.
Thank you, Dr. Karp, for joining us this morning and discussing sleep deprivation for parents and sleep tips for everyone.
Thank you so much.
At any stage from youth to seniors begins with a plan to ensure we have the resources to protect our health and our well-being. From inside our home to our exterior environment, planning our family's food, energy, and water consumption will help us sustain our future lifestyle. Share with us your plan for your planet for the future at facebook.com/Rose Lee Show, and follow us on Instagram at The Rose Lee Show, and watch this episode and many others 24/7 at RoseleeArcherShow.com. I want to thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you soon.